The silence of the South Australian outback has always been heavy, but today it was broken by a sound that makes the ongoing murder investigation feel devastatingly real. While detectives have spent weeks talking about cement slabs, forensic grids, and inconsistent statements, Gus Lamont's parents have just reminded the world exactly who we are looking for. On February 24, 2026, Josh and Jess Lamont released a new, never-before-seen video of 4-year-old Gus. In it, he isn't a missing person or a case file. He is just a little boy, full of life, pedaling his bike with the kind of pure, innocent joy that only a child can have. This footage wasn't released for a celebration. It was released as a desperate, final plea. Just hours ago, his parents broke their silence, describing their existence as shattered and unbearable. They aren't just looking for a lead anymore, they are begging for the return of the boy in that video. Before we break down the specific details of this emotional address and what it means for the suspect still living on their property, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. We are following every update in the search for Gus to ensure his story isn't buried in the dust. I want to hear from you. Comment below with your thoughts on this new footage, and let me know where you are watching from. The raw intensity of the parents' statement on February 24 reflects a level of pain that is almost impossible to fathom. When Josh and Jess Lamont say their lives have been shattered, they aren't just using a metaphor, they are describing the total collapse of their world since September 27. Every word in their appeal was carefully chosen to cut through the noise of the forensic investigation. By describing every moment without Gus as unbearable, they are humanizing the agonizing passage of time that is often lost in police reports and court proceedings. This isn't a standard media release, it's a direct plea to the conscience of anyone holding onto a secret. The parents explicitly stated, "We know someone out there may have information," and they are pleading for the person who knows what happened to finally step forward. This language is incredibly strategic. It suggests that while the police are focusing on inconsistencies, the parents are focusing on the truth that remains hidden within their own circle. They are calling out to a specific individual, the very person Task Force Horizon believes is a resident suspect. By laying bare their grief, they are challenging that person to look at the wreckage they've caused. The unbearable nature of their life is now a public record, a haunting contrast to the calculated silence and the freshly poured concrete that continues to define the investigation at Oak Park Station. The release of this heart-wrenching appeal on February 24, 2026, is no coincidence. It comes exactly 1 week after the intensive forensic operation at the Grampus property, and the Oak Park homestead concluded with what police called no evidence located. This timing is significant because it marks a transition from forensic action to psychological pressure. When the cadaver dogs and the jackhammers stop, and the red dust begins to settle again, the fear for the parents is that the world will move on. By releasing the new video of Gus on his bike just days after the search teams left, Josh and Jess are ensuring that their son remains a face, not just a cold case file. But there is a deeper layer to this timing. Task Force Horizon has just spent weeks dismantling structures and probing cement, making it clear to the resident suspect that the net is tightening. This plea serves as the emotional second wave of that pressure. While the police are using forensic science to squeeze the suspect, the parents are using the weight of their public grief to do the same. They are speaking into the silence that followed the search, making sure that whoever is watching the news at the station knows that even if the dogs didn't find him this time, the hunt for the truth hasn't slowed down. This appeal isn't just about finding a witness, it's about making the current state of silence unbearable for the person responsible. In their February 24 appeal, Josh and Jess Lamont used a phrase that carries immense weight: "We are united in our grief." On the surface, it's a standard expression of parental solidarity, but in the context of Oak Park Station, it feels like a line drawn in the sand. This is a family currently being torn apart by the very investigation meant to bring them peace. While the parents are pleading for answers, a resident of that same property, someone Gus knew and trusted, has been officially named a suspect and has clammed up behind a wall of legal defense. This creates a chilling reality for the investigation. You have the parents, cleared by police and desperate for the truth, likely living or interacting in the same circles as the person Task Force Horizon believes is responsible for their son's death. The police have been very careful to state that Josh and Jess are not suspects, effectively isolating them from the resident suspect, who has withdrawn all cooperation. By emphasizing that they are united, the parents are trying to project a front of family strength, but the legal filings tell a different story. With grandparents hiring separate criminal lawyers and a relative refusing to speak, the unity the parents are calling for isn't just a sentiment, it's a plea for the silence within their own family tree to finally break. It is a house divided by a secret, and the parents' plea is the only voice left speaking for Gus, while others have chosen the protection of the law. The release of the new video showing Gus on his bike is a deliberate and tactical move. In the world of high-stakes investigations, fresh imagery serves a dual purpose. It humanizes the victim and disrupts the comfort of those keeping secrets. This footage captures a moment of pure, everyday joy. Gus, focused and determined, pedaling across the dirt, his small legs working hard to keep the bike moving. It's a stark contrast to the grainy, static photos we've seen for months. By sharing this, the parents are forcing the public, and the suspect, to look at Gus as a living, breathing child with a future that was abruptly stolen. But there is a more clinical reason for this release. Task Force Horizon knows that specific visual triggers can break the resolve of witnesses or even suspects. Seeing Gus in motion, hearing the sound of the bike's tires on the gravel, and watching his characteristic mannerisms can stir a deep sense of guilt or spark a dormant memory in someone who might have seen something unusual on that September afternoon. It's a psychological tool. This video is designed to make it impossible for anyone involved to look away. For the resident suspect, this footage isn't just a memory. It's a haunting reminder of the innocence they are accused of destroying. The bike video is a message that says Gus is still here, his presence is still felt, and the search for him will be as relentless as his pedaling in that video. In their emotional address, Josh and Jess Lamont made a specific plea that should resonate with anyone who has been following this case. Even the smallest detail could give us the answers we so desperately need. This isn't just a generic request for help. It is a direct message to the community and those on the periphery of the Oak Park and Grampus properties. When an investigation reaches this stage, where major searches have concluded and suspects have gone silent, the case often hinges on a fragment of evidence. What the parents are asking for are the things people usually dismiss. A strange vehicle seen on a back road on September 27, an unusual purchase of supplies at a local shop, a light on in a building that should have been dark, or perhaps a conversation overheard months ago that didn't make sense at the time. By focusing on the smallest detail, the parents are acknowledging that the big answers are being intentionally hidden. They are hoping that someone out there is sitting on a piece of a puzzle they don't even realize they hold. It's a call for the public to look back through their memories of that weekend with a forensic lens. In a case defined by a massive 500 square kilometer search area, the answer might not be a body found in the scrub. It might be a single, tiny observation that finally links the resident suspect to the crime scene they've worked so hard to conceal. There is a chilling irony at the heart of this latest plea. While Gus's parents are begging for even the smallest detail, someone within their own family circle is actively holding back the biggest one. The resident suspect at Oak Park Station cast a long, dark shadow over every word Josh and Jess spoke. Their call for transparency and cooperation sits in direct, violent opposition to the suspect's decision to retreat into total silence. This isn't just a legal disagreement, it's a moral battleground. On one side, you have the parents laying their souls bare to the public. On the other, you have a relative who has stopped talking to Task Force Horizon because their story didn't match the physical evidence. This silence is the inconsistency that Detective Superintendent Field warned us about. When the parents plead for help, they are essentially pleading with the very walls of their own home. It creates an atmosphere of psychological warfare. By going public with their shattered lives, Josh and Jess are forcing the suspect to witness the human cost of their silence every single day. The police have identified this person as someone who provided a narrative that simply does not align with the forensic data retrieved from seized motorcycles and vehicles. Every time the parents speak, that shadow grows larger. The investigation has moved past the stage of wondering if someone knows. The police are now certain someone does, and they are waiting to see if the weight of a mother's unbearable grief can finally crack the suspect's resolve where forensic science hasn't yet succeeded. In the midst of this legal storm and the agonizing silence from within their own family, Josh and Jess Lamont have made a point to express their deepest gratitude to the authorities. They specifically thank Task Force Horizon, the Australian Defence Force, and the countless volunteers who have scoured over 700 square kilometres of harsh outback terrain. This isn't just a polite gesture, it's a massive signal of where their trust lies. By publicly praising the tireless efforts of the detectives who have officially named a relative as a suspect, the parents are effectively choosing a side. They are standing with the investigators who are digging up the concrete, not the people who might have poured it. This gratitude also suggests that the police have been incredibly transparent with Josh and Jess. In major crime investigations, parents are often briefed on sensitive evidence that isn't yet public, forensic findings from seized vehicles, GPS data, or the specific discrepancies that turned a missing persons case into a murder inquiry. Their unwavering support for the police, even as the investigation centers on their own station, implies they have seen enough to know that the authorities are on the right track. They describe the efforts of the searchers as meaning more than we can ever say, acknowledging that while the physical search for a living boy has ended, the mission to bring him home and find the truth is being handled with the precision he deserves. It's a powerful endorsement that leaves the resident suspect even more isolated, facing a police force that has the full, heartbroken backing of the victim's parents. The parents' plea for unity in their grief faces its most difficult challenge when looking at the actions of Gus's grandparents, Josie and Shannon Murray. While Josh and Jess are publicly thanking the police, the grandparents have taken a markedly different path. They have officially hired separate criminal lawyers. This legal standoff has created a visible fracture at the heart of Oak Park Station. In their own statement, the Murrays claimed to be absolutely devastated and insisted they had initially cooperated fully with the search. However, the decision to law up immediately after the case was upgraded to a major crime sends a chilling signal to the public and investigators alike. This move by the grandparents complicates the emotional narrative Josh and Jess are trying to build. While the parents are begging for the truth, the heads of the family estate have effectively built a legal fortress around themselves. This creates a wall of silence that Task Force Horizon must now breach using subpoenas and forensic data rather than voluntary interviews. It raises the most uncomfortable question in the entire case. If everyone is devastated, why is the investigation being met with legal resistance from within the family home? The contrast is stark. The parents are opening their hearts to the world through a video of a boy on a bike, while the grandparents are closing the gates of Oak Park through their legal counsel. This standoff is the primary hurdle standing between Gus and the justice his parents are fighting for. As we look at the footage of Gus pedaling his bike, we are forced to confront the ultimate crossroads of this investigation. Is this a story of a tragic accident hidden by a panic mistake, or is it a calculated cover-up by someone Gus should have been able to trust? The evidence gathered by Task Force Horizon, the inconsistencies, the seized vehicles, and the suspicious silence, paints a picture of a family home turned into a crime scene. But the raw, unfiltered grief of Josh and Jess Lamont serves as a powerful reminder that while the legal battle rages on, a little boy is still missing from his parents' lives. We are left with one final question. How much longer can a secret stay buried in the South Australian dust before the weight of a mother's plea finally breaks it loose? The police are committed, the parents are shattered, and the world is watching. We cannot let Gus's story end at the edge of a concrete slab. Please share this video and the new footage of Gus to keep his face in the public eye. Your voice might be the one that reaches someone who is finally ready to speak. Thank you for watching, for caring, and for standing with us as we wait for the truth to surface. We won't stop until Gus comes home.